Our unfiltered look into Wisconsin government could go dark in just 3 weeks. WisEye has served as our state's version of C-SPAN for nearly 20 years.
So WisEye will go offline soon if they don't meet their funding goals. Our Wisconsin State Capitol Bureau Chief Vanessa Kelson explains.
From presidential campaign visits.
Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate you guys.
To Act 10.
What have you done? Okay.
And everything in between.
Sweet home.
WisEye has captured over 30,000 hours of the state's biggest political moments. But all of that may be put on pause if they can't find the funding.
We need $1 million for calendar year 2026.
As for how much he's raised,
Zero.
Henkes says he faces tough competition right now. Donors are prioritizing other organizations in times of need.
There are tens of millions of dollars in fundraising campaigns going on right now for very worthy causes. WisEye is not first in line.
The state has nearly $10 million set aside for WisEye, but WisEye has to raise a dollar-for-dollar match to access it.
I read about from childhood about Christmas miracles.
WisEye is in talks with the legislature to see if some of that state endowment can be released now to keep the nonprofit afloat.
So the conversation starts with the Assembly Speaker, and we're hopeful that that generous attitude toward WisEye will continue.
Republican Assembly Speaker Robin Vos and the co-chairs of the Joint Finance Committee did not respond to our request for comment on if the state plans to step in.
So in the short term, we really are relying on people of goodwill across the state.
WisEye describes itself as the first and only independent state capitol broadcast organization. Without needed funding, they'll cease to stream any events and their archive will go offline on December 15th. From the Wisconsin State Capitol, Vanessa Kelson.